Dr. Matthew Howie with all this stuff, but I was reading one of the biggest things that's out there right now. I have more people come up to me lately and say, where do we go to get a shot? How can we find that? And getting vaccine to the right people has been a problem that health officials are struggling to solve right now. I saw a line the other day from April Hutchinson, the Director of Communication for the Pennsylvania Department of Health, who said, there's a logistical challenge. This is a system that's going to need to be built up over time. The limiting factor in all of this is vaccines, and how do you distribute 166,000 new doses of vaccine across the Commonwealth to get it into the arms of people who need it. I had a guy call the other day whose mother is 87 years old, can't get an appointment right now. What's going on here from your particular vantage point as you've seen this kind of happening around the local area?
Yeah, I mean, those are really compelling stories, no question about it. I mean, what we're seeing is a supply issue. When you have a supply chain issue like this, it becomes really difficult to get vaccine as equitably as you want to get it out into the community.
Right.
I think the spokesperson from the Department of Health hit it right. That really what we have is a supply issue, and we've built some really good plans when the supply gets better, and we do anticipate it getting better. But it's not going to get better overnight. It's going to be a gradual increase. That's the pattern that we've seen. And for organizations that have the capacity to do vaccines at large volume, and at this point, the ones who seem to be most effective in large health systems, then what we will see is basically a kind of a combination of approaches to get that vaccine out there. To get the large volume that we need, we're going to do large vaccination sites. There's no question. We need large amounts of vaccine to do large vaccination sites, so obviously they haven't gone live yet. But there's some good hope on the horizon right now. Yesterday, in the evening, notified that the emergency use authorization for a new vaccine has been approved. This is the Johnson & Johnson product, which at this time is a one and done. So it's a single dose vaccine, and depending on the volume we get, we hopefully can be able to expand our work right now.
You know, I was reading an article the other day where it said a dose of, I think it was the Pfizer, Dr. Howie, the dosage took 110 days to develop. Now they're going to cut it down to 50 or 60 days. I forget, but it was one of those two. And I thought it's fascinating how fast this is all kind of taking place in front of us. Obviously, we're amazed by the short period of time it took to develop this vaccine when people were saying it might take 2 or 3 years. Obviously, they've been working on coronaviruses of different kinds for a long time, but the rapidity with which this got to the market, and now trying to cut down on the amount of time it's taking. Is there any concern on your part about the safety of this as we continue to try to go faster and get things out quicker here to people?
I think it's something that people are paying a lot of attention to right now. Personally, I still can rely on the processes we've had in place. I mean, really what we've done is eliminate red tape and things that ultimately slow the process down. It can be administrative more than scientific. The scientific elements, the things that check the box, make sure that we get adequate time to make sure that there's a safety profile that's monitored for, that the efficacy is there. All that stuff, that's not where the shortcuts are being made. What we're really doing is minimizing inefficiencies in the process while we're at the same time maximizing the ability of getting the volume that we need to our community.
Dr. Howie, my wife is a healthcare worker. The other day she got her second shot, and she had a little bit of heat, a little bit of a reaction to it. Not for a long period of time, but she didn't feel that good. Got a little flushed in the face when she got home, and then by the next day she was fine. I get my second one coming up this Saturday. I've heard of people having some reactions to this. We've seen a couple of people that had some pretty severe reactions. What's your look at this thing so far in terms of this second dose that's coming?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually relatively common. I will say I had the same personal experience that your wife had. Mine was it was a day later, and I was feeling pretty yucky. But when it comes to that, the reaction we're having is an immune reaction. This is an immune response to the second dose. It's your immune system recognizing that it's seen this before, and it's mounting a robust response. It's what makes you feel yucky when you have other kinds of illnesses. Part of it is virus, and part of it actually is the response. In this scenario, it's not a virus. Obviously, it's just a part of the virus that we're using to trigger the immune system to respond. It's actually a reassuring thing. It says your immune system recognizes it as not belonging to your body, and it's responding robustly to it. That should be a good thing. This should be absolutely in contrast to an allergic reaction, which is much, much more rare. We don't see that very commonly, and we're prepared for it if we do in the sites where we're doing vaccines.
One of the things I've been impressed by when I went for my first shot, and was the seamless way in which they put you through. I mean, it was really well done. I went over to WellSpan or York Hospital, got mine done. But what was interesting, they explained all those things to you. They said, hey, stick around 15 minutes afterward. We want to see if you have a reaction. Chances are, if you're going to have it in the first 15 or so minutes. But they were very informative. I thought it was handled really well here in the local area. So when you do get your shot, I mean, from what I'm seeing so far, and from what I'm hearing from other people, they're handling it pretty well so far. What's been your thought process about that thus far?
The one thing that I will say that's a little bit of a silver lining is that we've all had a little bit of time to prepare. And so health systems have been doing vaccinations for years. So we have a protocol for other vaccines, and we've been able to modify that, adjust it to match this particular vaccine. And I'm not surprised at all that health systems, and I had a similar testimony come from Family First Health. Someone had gone there for a vaccine as a staff member of mine and said it was seamless. It was so smooth. And I'm like, this is part of their wheelhouse. They know what they're doing in this space. So we're just adjusting for the individual vaccine.
Something else that's interesting, too, and my wife brought it up the other day, she got her second shot from a cardiologist who happened to be working, and I guess volunteering or working there. And, we don't think about this, but a lot of doctors now, maybe you would expect them to see them in the surgery room or something like that. They're out there maybe helping on the front lines, too. That's something that we kind of forget about from time to time, don't we?
I think we absolutely do. You have to understand that, all of us went in this business because we care about the people that we serve and care for. And we have a remarkable number of volunteers. And you're going to see retired docs, you're going to see retired nurses, you're going to see docs who are normally not in infectious disease or primary care. They've been volunteering and ready to step into this space in multiple arenas. And we're going to be using them. Don't worry. The volume is such that we need to.
What do you tell people here locally that are listening right now regarding the vaccine and regarding some of the angst and, getting those appointments, being on waiting lists, calling over and over again? What would you tell them to kind of just, get the perspective here for them at this particular point in time?
The thing that no one likes to hear, which is be patient. There is definitely a patient element to it. The thing that we have not had to do is do vaccination on a large scale. And so I think there is a curve in terms of us making sure that vaccine gets to the most at risk as early as possible. I think we're improving in that area. That's been an area of challenge because logistically it's hard. How do you get individuals who are at highest risk, who may not have a smartphone, who may not have a strong internet access into that queue? We're being very intentional about that, but it is definitely something we're getting better at as we go.
Dr. Howie, always appreciate your insights. Thank you so much for helping us this morning, and thank you for all that you're doing out there right now to help to fight this COVID-19 pandemic. We really appreciate it.
And thank you very much. I just appreciate the opportunity to share on your show, so thank you for inviting me.
Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you again very soon. Dr. Matthew Howie with us here on WSBA. Have a great day, sir.